Hey everyone, we are at the Welcome to Revival Youth Conference here at Home Church with River Valley Ages. I was able to connect with their keys player and MD over the weekend, Devonje Anderson, and we sat down, got him to chat a little bit about how he leads with River Valley.
So my name is Devonje Anderson. I am a keys player and music director for River Valley Worship and River Valley Ages. I've been attending River Valley Church for the last 7 or 8 years. In high school, a friend of mine brought me to their youth group, and I knew a little bit about how to play bass, and they needed a bass player, so I was like, hey, I can play bass if you guys ever need. And honestly, the rest is history. I started off as a bass player, and then our keyboard player moved back to North Dakota, so then I switched over to playing keys, and then our drummer actually moved to North Dakota as well, so then I started playing drums. And yeah, like I said, the rest is history. Over the last 8 years, I've just like some really, really great friends, and have grown a lot musically and spiritually. And a lot of that has like gotten me to where we are today with River Valley Worship and River Valley Ages. So as I mentioned, I am an MD for River Valley Worship and River Valley Ages. As far as my style goes, I think I'm pretty like conventional, but I'm also, I try to be like really sensitive to what God is doing in the room, and what either the worship leader or the pastor is doing in the moment. And honestly, that a lot of times ends up determining how I lead myself and lead the band. I also kind of like, especially with our River Valley Worship and Ages crew, we've all kind of played together for a while now, so they kind of know like how I flow and like how I really try to cater to the moment in the room. And if that aligns with whatever song is next or whatever song we're doing, that's great. But sometimes I think like me and the worship leader are often aligned, where like if we feel like we want to take the musical bed in a direction that more fits the moment, then I mean, we are like 100% all in on that. We really like to work with substitutions and inversions sometimes with the chords in our songs. So like if we ever want to pull more emotion or like more attention to a moment in the song, sometimes like if there's a 5 chord, I'll call a 7, and that 7 kind of like brings to me, at least to our ear, brings the emotion of the moment more to like a serious and like awe and reverent moment. So yeah, we like to play around with a lot of that stuff, and honestly a lot of that just comes out of our like sound check time, rehearsal time. At this point we're pretty good on the songs to where we can like try a bunch of stuff and see how all that works out. But yeah, we are we know the part, we play the parts, but if the moment is calling for otherwise, we are more than welcome and very excited to kind of branch out and see what God does.
Sweet, that's cool.
Yeah.
So on that topic of kind of like chording, do you guys have like specific kind of patches, like when you're playing some of those songs, do you have any go-to piano sounds and stuff that you use?
For me personally, I kind of between grand, well, I'll start pretty broad. Between grand and upright sounds, I lean more grand unless the song specifically calls for like a really delicate or like particular upright sound. And I primarily play Nord instruments. So out of the grands on the Nord, I usually try to choose from the Grand Imperial, or the Grand Imperial, the Studio Grand 2, or the Royal Grand. The Grand Imperial is great. I even use that in like recording. It's like a really big and bold piano. It has a lot of low end, a lot of high end, so it's like really easy to craft and post, and it's really easy for sound guys to kind of morph it to however it fits in the room. The Studio Grand 2 is like my personal favorite for like when I'm at home and just like playing by myself. It sounds like really nice and intimate. And then the Royal Grand, I think it's called, Royal Grand 3D. To me, that's kind of just another spin-off of the Imperial, of the Grand Imperial. Maybe a little less bright than the Grand Imperial and like a little bit more smooth. But one of the first things I do when like I sit down, whether it's at church or like in a different auditorium, or like if we're at a place like this at home church, when we get the piano like going through the PA, and going through our ears, I'll kind of cycle through those three in Grand Imperial, Royal Grand, and Studio and see whichever one fits the room. So I primarily use piano sounds. I don't use a whole lot of Rhodes unless the song calls for it. I also have a love-hate relationship with pads. So the pad sample that I actually use on the Nord is one that I sampled from my Juno. So I sampled that from the Juno into the Nord, and it's not really your typical pad. It's a little brighter and a little bit more mid-focused, which also makes it easier for front of house to kind of manipulate the pad sound. So it's not as dark as I feel like most pads are. And if I'm ever not feeling the pad, I'll sometimes crank the reverb level a little bit. Like I usually leave it at around 2.5, but sometimes I'll even bring it up to like 3 or 4. And I'll kind of use the reverb level on the Nord as a pad as well. And to honestly make it easier on myself with like the actual pad sample, I actually run 2. I run one an octave up and then one an octave down to kind of give it a bigger sound. And on the Nord Stage 3, I have to do that utilizing the panel feature. So if you see on this A panel, this is where the piano and one pad is, and then on the B panel, this is where the other pad is. I think this one is an octave up, and then this one is at the same octave as the piano. So when I want to turn the pad up, it can be tricky to like turn it up on this panel and then switch to the other panel and turn that one up to the same level. So I actually, on my personal Nords and like on my patches that I save and travel with, I map the pad level to the mod wheel. So then that way, it's literally at like kind of like the flick of a switch. I can push the pad all the way in or like bring it all the way out. And it makes it really easy. Well, hey, thank you all for watching. I hope that this video serves as a blessing and a resource to the Keys to Kingdom family. You can watch more. The sunrise video will be linked below, so check that out. Thank you.